very heavy scalation.
Yeah.
But often what you see in the reconstructions, you don't see any of that come through. It's covered in soft tissue completely. But is that true? Would the soft tissue be thin enough to where you would see the outlines of the scales, or would it be thick enough where you wouldn't see any of that? But if you look at some stem tetrapods, just for example, I mean, look at any of the colostiids.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily think that you would be obscured completely. I think you would probably see some sort of um, scalation appearing through. It would be covered in some sort of soft tissue, potentially. I don't think it would look like, say, um, like a fish, like a coelacanth or anything like that. It's weird because we don't have any of these things alive, and then they're in a really weird phylogenetic black box. They're not amphibians, they're not tetrapods, but they aren't necessarily
Nothing comparable. Yeah.
fish. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a really tricky area. So I think what's fun with them is they can be there's a little bit of room for interpretation. I think people should lean into some of the more fishy, aquatic-like stuff. Like we know that embolomirs have paddle-like tails. There's these things called superneural radials where you have your vertebral spine, but then on top of it, this is a very fishy character. They have an additional vertebral spine. It's called a superneural radial, and that's what produces this paddle-like fin that you see in a lot of early tetrapod reconstructions. We only have one embolomere that preserves superneural radials, and it's just the tail fin. But we lose the tail in a lot of early tetrapods, like colostiids. None of them have the posterior portion of the tail. The only one that has some of it is Philodagaster, but that's never been really figured properly.
At that point, like, I could sort of assume it might have something to do with like how it was attached. Like if you're getting none of them.
Well, yeah, that's it's. I think it's more than coincidence. I think you're right, because there's a really well preserved colostiid from Kentucky that really well preserved. It's an amazing specimen. You're missing a bunch of the snout because that's what was exposed out of the rock face.
Yeah.
And then once they took the whole block out and they prepped it, the tail vertebrae are very well articulated. But then you get to like the posterior half, gone, just absent for whatever reason. It looks like somebody just cut it off and took it away. There's not even like traces that it was even there. So it might be that the vertebrae aren't as well ossified, or they tend to disarticulate quickly. I don't know. But with Calligenethlon in particular, the animal that you guys are doing right now, what's interesting is it's been tossed around as being potentially one of the few like terrestrial embolomirs, even though I think a lot of them are probably semi-aquatic to fully aquatic. But it might be one of the like earlier instances of embolomirs going fully terrestrial due to its body size, its limbs being relatively well developed.
Yeah.
Again, open to interpretation. Like you have a lot of these stem tetrapods that have limbs with digits, then everything else about their body just screams, hey, I'm fully aquatic. I'm not going to be going onto the land. Like colostiids, if they're ever hauling themselves on the land, it's for a really good reason. Like your pond is drying up, you need to move, or something else that's pretty dramatic.
Yeah. Then you have also things like Acanthostega and Ichthyostega that look like they have more traditional digits and stuff and like hand bones, and especially with the Ichthyostega, that's not the case.
Yeah, those animals are for sure aquatic.
Yeah.
Even if you look at some of these animals with the superneural radials, the paddle-like tails, that's another hypothesis or an idea that like because these animals have these paddle-like tails, those are going to be relatively delicate, and you don't want to be hauling yourself on a land and dragging that across the ground that often. There's a really good book that I think is really good for reconstructions and also just getting a general grasp around tetrapods. It's Gaining Ground by Jenny Clack.
I think I heard of that.
Yeah, that's a very good book. Like reading, I would say like the first third of that gives you a pretty good understanding of early tetrapods, and like the basis of like the origin of a lot of the like structures and characters, coming from the fin to limb transition. But yeah, their stem tetrapods are a weird bunch because we really
that
don't
reminds
know
me.
much about them.
I talked with someone about that some time ago. I don't know who that was. About like tracks from the same formation as Tiktaalik, I think. Tracks of a tetrapod without a tail dragging.
We have terrestrial
Yeah.
trackways in the Devonian. And not just a few. We have there's several. So, but also as you go further and further back into time, the fossil record becomes scarcer and scarcer.
Yeah,
Just due to
naturally.
time. There's a really good figure in I'll have to share it with you at some point. It just kind of shows the like stepwise progression. Also, you can kind of like apply math to it and think about how just as time progresses, how much you actually lose. And even like I would say for some of our Mesozoic fauna, we are really lucky. We have a ton of material for them. The Paleozoic, we just have so much missing. There's so much we just don't know.
Yeah.
So for the Devonian, we don't have the body fossils for whatever animals are making those trackways. I believe those trackways are still they're not 5-digited. They're showing that like Ichthyostega, Cantostega condition, which makes sense.
Yeah, given the age and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, but we don't have the body fossils for those animals because an animal like Cantostega or Ichthyostega, they're going to be dragging their tail, and yeah, you would see it.
Yeah, but having like doing the same age, something that apparently can lift its tail, is like, what's it?
What are you doing in the Devonian?
What's going on here?
Well, there is some. I think there's actually strong evidence to suggest that a lot of our early tetrapods originate in the Devonian. Temnospondylus might be originating in the late Devonian. We don't have the body fossils for them, but we have, I would pretty well derived Temnospondylus occurring in the Mississippian. Ballinurbaton, that's a temnospondyl from East Kirkton that has very well developed stapies for air, like hearing in air, and is terrestrial. What is it doing in the Mississippian? Well, it has to originate from somewhere, and it's either originating in the lower Mississippian or I think the Devonian. I think we don't have a good fossil record.
Yeah, we're
Colosteids and Bolamirs probably also originating in the Devonian.
We're getting the situation we see with a lot of groups where like the earliest member is literally just that.
Yep.
Like ichthyosaurs, bats, penguins, like a lot of these groups where like they just keep on getting earlier and earlier, and that earliest member is literally just that group still. Like it's not even like a stem lineage.
I mean, I think it's also partially like we might get the fossils from the point where these things for the first time become successful enough that we have enough specimens around that statistically it just becomes more probable for them to fossilize.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully more work gets done at the Tiktaalik site.
Yeah, I mean, a big thing is just we need more localities and we need more specimens. When it comes to these critters, we don't have the environments that we would expect to find these animals. Like almost all of your localities that are producing early tetrapods are have some kind of brackish influence. They're coastal, near coastal, near marine habitats.
Yeah,
we have very, very, very few. I don't think for early tetrapods we don't have anything in the Devonian. I think that's freshwater. I think Tiktaalik is from a freshwater deposit, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
I need to look at that again. But there's probably something going on inland, but we just don't have it preserved.
Yeah, I know we have a good amount of freshwater Devonian stuff preserved.
Yeah, but the early tetrapods, we just don't have them. And there's probably something going on in the freshwater deposits, or more freshwater influence, or less marine influence. That is.
Yeah.
Here, I found the figure that I was mentioning. I'm gonna send this to you, Josh. It's just kind of like cool to like kind of wrap your head around.
Just put it in stream materials.
Cool. New to all this, so I need to find it. But I will.
It's above the stage.
Yeah,
stream
just two
ideas.
above. No, two above where the VC that we're in.
Yeah, and then in the same category, Stream Speak and more, and then the second channel of that.
There you go. It's a lot of text, but like it's interesting because it kind of like works you through just how lucky we are to have any material.
Yeah.
And then if you apply like a numbers math game, just every single time divide by 10. And you get to basically where you're lucky if you have like one fossil out of like a million things at a locality.
Yeah.
Dying at a locality.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm curious to see how y'all reconstruct Calligenethlon here. And in that paper, we have 4 reconstructions because we're missing still some material of Calligenethlon, but we're making approximations and estimations.
Yeah, I very much appreciate that. It's good to work with.
The first one is the more parsimonious interpretation, but hey, interpretations are interpretations, and I like some speculative art out there, so
yeah,
whatever one fancies that day, but yeah.
Okay, I think I'm nearly done with the environment.
Yeah, I mean, with Devonian freshwater environments, there are so few that actually get a decent amount of research.
Yeah.
Like, especially as I've been looking more into Devonian stuff and trying to seek out freshwater. Like, you have Aztec siltstone, and then like one in the US, and then some stuff in Australia. And besides that, you don't have any well-studied ones.
Nope.
Yeah.
And you're lucky if you have material that's preserved well, but there are exceptions.
Yeah, Beartooth Butte was the one I was thinking of for the US one. Yeah, I mean, Aztec siltstone is the actually nice Devonian freshwater one with tons of animals and plants. I know we have tetrapod trackways, if I remember right, at Catskill too.
I think so. I'm not too well versed in Devonian.
Yeah.
Mississippian is kind of my wheelhouse as of now.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, hopefully, speaking of Mississippian, hopefully pretty soon Bear Gulch will be on our radar.
Found that in Bullimere Tail paper.
Ooh.
I had it in my library, but I had some issues with my hard drive in Zotero, so everything got all like discombobulated. So I had to go back online and find it. I have it on my computer, but like I can't like just search for it. It's so annoying. Like, sift through folders. Here we go. Let me just make a link for it because I don't think I can put it in the Discord.
Now we also have East Kirkton that hopefully will be done at some point.
Yep, East Kirkton is a interesting locality.
Yeah.
Very, very, very unique environment, and then that's the thing is like these are unique because they don't often get preserved. They're probably not actually unique during the time.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely not. It's also, at least in some cases, people aren't doing what they did for the Tiktaalik specimens. They aren't searching for these freshwater deposits to search for stuff in. Like they are searching through these well-known sites that, for the most case, are going to be marine, and they're not gonna find the like more terrestrial thing there.
Good night, everyone. By the way.
Oh, good night, Levi.
Take care.
Yep.
Yeah, takes a lot more money. I like to go searching for these formations, but you also have.
Oh yeah, especially for searching for the right horizon that you think is going to be, producing stuff at the right time interval. That's expensive because you're literally searching for it. It's not, oh, I know this formation produces this kind of animal. We're going to go try to find a particular horizon and see if we can find this animal better preserved.
Yeah.
There should be something in here, but we don't know where. So we're going to go find it.
Yeah.
I just linked that paper with the superneural radials. With Calligenethlon, we don't have
let's have a look.
So just because we don't have the tail preserved, so we don't know, would it have a tail lacking superneural radials?
I see. Yeah.
Radials common across embolomeres? Do only some have it? Not entirely sure, but there's something that disarticulates quite easily.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, this guy looks more terrestrial, so I'm giving it a little bit of that.
Yeah. I think it's a safe interpretation.
Yeah.
Do we have any clue what the life cycle of embolomeres would have been like the juvenile, changes through ontogeny, stuff like that?
No, and the thing is, with a lot of early tetrapods, when you have these ontogenies, ontogenic series, the juvenile, the term juvenile and adult is arbitrary, right?
Yeah.
What I consider, an adult is sexual adult. Is it of reproductive age? So when we're just kind of looking at like size classes and saying, oh, this is big, it shows the adult morphology. Well, the juveniles might be sexually mature, and it's just when you get to the larger sizes, the morphology changes a bit for whatever reason. Are they occupying a new niche? Is it some kind of like a niche partitioning within the species? Don't know. But for embolomeres, isn't there? We don't know the life cycle. They're most definitely breeding in water.
Well, yeah.
But exactly what the like. Let me see. I thought there was. I think there's an larval. I remember hearing a word of some larval embolomer being floated around for a while, but I don't think it ever got described. Just find it.
Cool. Yeah. I didn't get to mention it when you brought it up, but I know Walnut's been mentioning that Kentucky embolomer a decent amount.
Oh yeah, the Hancock County
site.
That's a cool site, and that embolomer is amazing. There's two papers. There's one that's a book chapter, and then one that's a paper on the animal. There's a lot more material in the collections. I've seen it, and I found more portions of the skull that aren't in the literature. For a while, we thought, we just don't have the snout, but we do have some bits of it. That's an animal I'm hoping to maybe work on in the distant future. But it's an interesting animal because its scalation is preserved quite well. You can see the ventral and dorsal scales, and you can kind of see the pattern in which it's interesting. How let me see. I know I sent somebody in the server my notes on that.
Yeah.
Question is, where is it? Just kind of showing roughly like how those scales would be like lapping on this, overlapping in certain areas.
Yeah.
Here we go. Here we go. I'm gonna toss this image.
Yeah. Also, with you brought up scales. That is something that we brought up actually on Friday. We brought up Temnus Bondle scales as a topic because Euryops was being drawn, and that guy does actually have good scales preserved, at least in a small part of the body.
Yeah.
They're very reptile-like in shape.
At least some of them.
Well, it's
on the dorsal side.
Yeah.
And the belly scales, like you can see them like overlapping, and they're quite distinct in embolomeres. But what's cool in the Hancock County Colosseum is like the dorsal scales. They have this like ornamentation and pattern that almost looks like interlocking chainmail. They're not interlocking on the dorsal portion, but they have this ornamentation that kind of creates that image.
Yeah.
But it's weird, and it differs like the dorsal scales, or I wouldn't want to call them osteoderms. They're very, very, very different compared to
it's like
what you see in the belly.
Is there a bony component to them?
Sort of.
I mean, you could say ossicles.
Yeah.
Well, then there's also the question of, in stem tetrapods, the origin of the scales are like not well versed on it, but
homologous, analogous. What is it? Yeah.
Well, are you seeing more of a fish-like scale origin or something more derived?
Yeah. I mean,
are these things on the surface? Are they, covered by some soft tissue? Let me see.
The way you described those scales on it really remind me of the gastral scales on Temnus Bonds.
Here, I'm gonna throw it into the. Is it okay if I throw it in the stream materials?
Yeah. Sure.
Yeah, I mean, stream material
relevant to the discussion.
It is on top. Yeah, it's just on topic.
It's not a good image because it's just these were notes that I was sending to somebody.
That is a weirdly short tail.
Oh God! It's a sausage.
It's cut off.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
So this is Grupaton. Those figures are not mine. They're from a paper on Grupaton.
Oh yeah, you see it in lateral view.
I was showing somebody like where the scales would fit if you were to throw it onto a Grupaton, because they're both colossids and they're pretty similar. But I'll find some close-ups because the scales are pretty wacky.
Fossilized. This is actually the color scheme is inspired by a very cool looking salamander that I saw a few days ago.
Hello.
Oh, hi, Nick.
We're doing stem tetrapods.
Oh, nice. Which one?
I forgot its name.
Oh God. Yeah.
I'm not gonna say it.
No.
How dare you?
I have the paper up. Where are you? Yeah. I think I might have seen.
Does it have Erpaton at the end of its name?
No, it does
not this one.
For once, not.
Nice. Okay, I already like this one.
Calligenethlon. Calligenethlon.
Let's say that again.
Calligenethlon.
I've always said Calligenethlon, but I don't. I could be mispronouncing it. What happens is in like research groups, like we kind of like stick with a name if it's like a long name, just kind of like go with it, even though it might be a little wrong. Calligenethlon, but it might actually be.
Some people would not like that choice.
Calligenethlon is how we've always, but also
the Latin freaks jumping into
we always just call it Callie. While we were working on that paper, we did not bother saying Calligenethlon in conversation. We were always saying Callie.
Yeah.
Yeah, Callie. Yeah. We're working on the Callie figures today.
We're working on Callie right now.
How's Callie doing? Oh, don't ask.
I have seen that. I have seen that guy before. It looked very familiar.
Yeah, it's at the Cincinnati Museum.
Yeah, I saw it while I was at SVP.
Oh, you were there?
Yeah.
I was there too. At one point during the reception thingy at the museum, I was like crawling around on all fours like a tetrapod. There's a video floating around of me doing that somewhere. That somebody has.
So there
did
is
not-
potential blackmail out there. Good.
That's what they said, but I told them like I'm just gonna roll. Like that's awesome. Like I said,
Yeah.
I'll make it work.
They just have like a Guerrier skull like plastered
Yeah,
onto
it's a cast of Gurpaton just slapped on it.
Yeah.
Let me see. Here we go.
Yeah.
I have some close-ups of the scales here. They're really, really cool looking.
Yeah. I went to the museum earlier that week of SVP. I can't exactly remember why I wasn't able to go when everyone else was. But like I might have just been too exhausted.
Skill issue.
Because it's like
Oh yeah, conferences are tiring. Like
yeah.
I'm not a social butterfly, but I really like. I do my best at conferences, but like, oh yeah, network, talk to everybody, and then afterwards I'm like, oh my gosh, I cannot do this anymore.
I went to the Cincinnati Zoo and museum on the same day.
Mm.
Well,
That's a
there
lot.
is your first mistake.
Yeah, and I drove like it was 4 hours. It was it's an interesting day. I left that conference at like 2 a.m.
My
so
God.
I couldn't go to like the final party thing. Like I saw people walking back from it when I was getting packed up. Also, hello, Petite.
I
The petite.
just uploaded. Oh, sorry.
How's your internet doing?
Hopefully better, but I won't be here for long. Gotta leave in like 45 minutes for uni.
Oh boy.
Oh no, none of these are PNGs. Oh no. I mean, it's
Oh,
fine.
they're TIFFs. Oh no, my bad. I can get a
Only-
JPEG.
Wait.
I can't even open those image files. I downloaded.
Oh yeah, that's
I love
let me
TIFF
find the
files.
JPEG.
Unless it's Discord.
I think they're TIFFs and CR3s.
Oh no!
Yeah. I was gonna bring up that like you mentioned that a lot of these like when talking about both stem tetrapod and Tominus model scales like people bring up like fish a lot like a lot of these wouldn't be fish like there are some that are literally just oh hey it's a fish it looks like
Well,
a fish scale.
I think in terms of like reconstructing like soft tissue on these critters,
Oh,
like
yeah.
especially some of the more basal stem tetrapods. And Bolamirs, I think, are the exception. They seem to be converging on some stem amniote things. They're probably not stem amniotes; they're stem tetrapods. But for like Colosteates and some others like Crassigyrinus, Archeria, I think reconstructing them like more fishy like is safe and probably the most like reasonable reconstruction. I don't think. Do I have? Oh my gosh, I might not have CR3s of these. That's or JPEGs of these.
Maybe
That
just
sucks.
screenshot.
Yeah, that's what I'm gonna do. I'm just gonna snip them.
Yeah, let me grab a Temnus model that I'm talking about. Sclerocephalus, like that's just fish scales. Like Sclerocephalus just has fish scales.
Yep.
Like let me post it. Like this is a fish. You convergently you just went back to fish scales.
Yeah, which makes sense. Then also
Yeah.
too, there's a question of are all Temnus models?
Yeah, that's
That's his own can of
a fun
worms.
question. Yeah.
Colosteates for a while were thought to be stem Temnus models.
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna slowly screen snip these things.
But yeah, not many people draw these guys in general, but
No.
the reconstructions you have seen, what are some usual, like some things that people misinterpret, stuff like that.
The tail. In a lot of these, the tail looks like a lizard tail, especially in some of the stem tetrapods, where the parsimonious interpretation there would be to give it a paddle, or I think Gabriel does a good colostiid reconstruction. But also the thing is too, we don't have the posteriormost tail in a lot of these, so there's room for interpretation there. But since you're missing it, I think it's safe to go off of a more parsimonious approach, where thing is probably going to have a fish-like tail, paddle-like tail. It's in the water all the time. It's locomoting, not just like a serpentine, back and forth motion like an eel or something. But it's also propelling itself with a tail.
Yeah.
But I think that the big problem with stem tetrapods is they often get reconstructed to look an awful lot like reptiles or amphibians. I think it's that's a safe interpretation. I get it, but be creative with it. Go kind of make it look more fishy. Like Crassidorinus, like there's some good reconstructions of that animal showing like it just to be very fishy like, and I think that's great and that makes sense. There's Vile, not Vile.
Ville.
Ville. I always say Vile because my favorite music artist is Kurt Vile, so they occupy a similar area in my brain of V names.
Common San Diego referenced. Only base people get that reference.
He did a really good
brain rot sets in.
Of Canthostega, like darting up to the surface in this like 3D model animation. He made it look like a fish, which I loved it. I told this is amazing. Like these animals, especially those animals, behaviorally are going to act like fish.
You are a fish. You are still a fish.
You are a fish. And I love that, and I'm hoping that maybe in the next 10 years we have a tetrapod renaissance, and tetrapods get put in the new Jurassic World movie. Although,
please don't. That would be degrading.
I will cry because it'll be. Yeah, I will cry because it'll be horrible. I was looking and be like, oh, what have they done to you?
Yeah. I only ask because I have drawn stem tetrapods before, but it's been a while. I think like a year and a half to 2 years. I've been meaning to get back into them. I did Acanthostega and Ichthyostega. Like
Ichthyostega's a fun one.
Yeah. Hunchback. Yeah.
Oh, that reminds me of the animation I did one of these guys.
Yeah, let me grab my two reconstructions. These are not representative of my art style anymore, so I hate how they look, but I also am happy enough with the recon where I don't want to redo them. These are my two very old reconstructions of Acanthostega and Ichthyostega.
Oh, I've seen these before. I love these. I love these. These do a good job of in my opinion, finding that middle ground between.
Saying Gok Truang 49. Welcome to the stream. Thank you for the follow. I have no idea if I pronounced that correctly. Welcome anyway.
Yeah. The thing that helped me figure out at least how to do the limbs, just look at seals. They're gonna they are seal-esque.
Yeah, that's fair.
Bobby
I like the Acanthostega.
Yes.
Yeah, it does a good job of showing that dentition, the palatal dentition, and that marginal dentition. These animals, they're not like, reptiles where you have just your marginal dentition, but you got this just.
I mean, reptiles too, oftentimes, especially basal groups.
Well, if you look at certain animals
looking at you, Capturinus.
Or Crassidorinus, the palatal dentition
yeah.
just goes insane. Absolutely insane. I mean, for colostids, you look at them and you often see the premaxillary fang is the biggest. No, it's probably the Palatine Fang. In the one I'm working on, the Palatine Fang is the largest fang, largest tooth. Depends what you consider a fang and a tooth. I think it's a annoying debate. Just massive. Just seeing like the animal with its like mouth open, just be terrifying.
Yep.
Yeah, uploaded the scales there. You can see those are the dorsal scales, the same ones I highlight in that original photo with the notes and stuff. But you can see what I was saying. Like they kind of look like they almost like interlock. It's just it's such a cool ornamentation for these scales, and those are on the back. I think for those scales, they would be covered in soft tissue to a degree, but you'd be able to see the shape through the skin probably. They wouldn't just be sitting in the skin completely covered and smooth, which that would make colosseum reconstructions look completely different than what they currently look like.
Oh, by the way, I forgot to look at that. How big is this guy roughly? Or just
not big.
Yeah.
Calligenethlon's small. Let me just pull the paper. Oh, I love the colors on it. Okay, that scale bar by the CT is 1 centimeter.
Aww.
Yeah, it's a small animal. It's not big, but also too like you're probably getting the average specimens that are being fossilized. So
of course,
these animals could definitely push, larger, easily getting larger.
Yeah. Petite's still here? Oh yeah, okay. I hope she didn't just fall asleep.
Me.
No, another petite.
What? Oh,
Don't
if it
worry
wasn't
about it.
clear already, I'm not sleep talking.
A likely story.
I think this might be some of the first paleo art for Calligenethlon.
Quite likely.
Yeah, I think so. Also, too, our recent paper is the most complete example of Calligenethlon and the best preserved so far. So
that helps a lot. Yeah, and I very much appreciate to what lengths you guys got in the paper to provide people who want to depict it with potential stuff to go off. That's
Ben O2
so helpful.
Those skeletals, and what I really like about how he approached that was the producing different interpretations of it based on, well, would the snout be longer or shorter? Your vertebral count, how is that looking? I really like them. That's something I'm going to try to replicate in some of my independent work going forward, because sure, you can make one skeletal and then draw in the gray areas, and then in the text you can say, well, maybe the snout's longer. Why not just figure that too? And so you can kind of show the variation of this animal. Probably, if you're going off of, what's most reasonable, Occam's razor, gonna be one of these 4. If it's not one of those 4, that's considerably strange, especially since we have quite a few other emboldeners. We're kind of piecing together, those.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna send a stream link to one of the other. authors.
Good. Man, did Videx just fall asleep?
I think he just forgot he was in voice chat over there. Okay, I'm trying to show that it's like pressing a little bit into the moss here.
Yeah, I'd love for us to be able to determine in the future, like, how aquatic bolemirs are.
Oh
'Cause
yeah.
out of all of them, Calligenethlon is probably terrestrial, but I'm also curious, like, how does the biology reflect that? Like,
Yeah.
it,
Could isotopes in theory be used for
if
stuff here?
if they preserve.
And yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
The further you go back, the more difficult it
preserve.
becomes.
Yeah,
we're talking like 300. How old is Joggins? It's about 300. It's a little more than 300 million years old. I think around 307. Let me just.
I'm pretty sure we just had. I'm pretty sure we had some Devonian isotope work done not too long ago.
Yeah.
With a Chondrichthyien, so like it's not impossible.
Yeah. But of course, yeah, you don't know if it will work, and it's a destructive method, and
Yeah. Especially if I remember right, Joggins getting too much field work done anymore?
Yes and no. I mean, work is still being done, obviously, but yeah. I mean, field work depends. People stumble across things. There's some political things involved with things being collected and found. I will not get into. I will be a good academic and say nothing. But
I think I heard about some stuff.
Yeah, field work is slow. It's not much is really happening anymore. Like this specimen, I think, was collected 14 years ago. Like, yeah, I'm pretty sure it was like 14 years ago. It was a while ago, and it's just now getting out there. I mean, a master's student was working on it a few years ago, but still, like, a lot of time, which makes sense.
Oh yeah, good specimens usually take time to be published correctly. Better take a little bit more time than rushing it out, like so many.
I'm going to send this stream materials just to kind of get a context for what the preservation is like at Joggins, like why these animals are being found in tree stumps. There's like two theories. There's Dawson's pitfall theory, and then there's Calder's denning theory. Like, are these animals falling into these lycopsid stumps, or are they kind of like going into these lycopsid stumps that have been burnt? Because there is evidence of these trees being burnt during a forest fire. Or are these animals, are the remains being washed into these trees? Like, how are they getting in there? There's a lot of questions. Poor little guy, stuck in the tree stump.
Yeah, I think we just added Joggins yesterday to the wheel for the formation streams.
Cool.
Also, hi, Lialgo, welcome to the stream. Thank you for the follow. But yeah, I was already thinking, if that comes up at some point, what composition could one go for? And I think we could just view into a hollow log and just fill it up with stuff. It's good. It's good. A few insects like scavenging on it, and you have everything together. Where is it? I'm thinking of adding some colorful lichens or mushrooms here in between the mosses to add a little bit of color to it. Here and there. I can't find it again. Ah, there it is. Whoop.
Joggins is, oh yeah, I was wrong. Joggins is about 318? Yeah, 318 million years old. It's early pen. I said 308 because there's a new tree stump fauna that I'm working on that is of that age, so I got a little mixed up in my mind.
Is it the I assume there aren't too many. Like, I know Dendromaya. We were talking about, I think, like yesterday even.
I think we actually mentioned it earlier.
Yeah.
Dendromaya, not the same locality. It's a locality that's been collected for plants and other stuff before, but tetrapods are new. I can't say much. So.
Yeah, no, that's completely fine.
it's kind of a top secret one. I'd love to share more, but we're waiting for like the big press release. Once a press release is out on it, then I'm gonna share a bunch. But yeah, Dendromaya is an interesting one. My supervisor described that, but I have my reservations on Dendromaya.
Okay.
I don't like the interpretation. It doesn't sit with me. The parental care aspect of it.
No.
How do you know that's a juvenile and an adult of the same species?
Yeah. I guess.
Yeah, that's yeah.
Like it could be a juvenile of a different species, and they just happen to be, preserved together.
Yeah, inferring.
Yeah, they're closely associated, but you have a lot of animals closely associated. Like if you go to like Greer, you have Greerpaton. There's some that are two skeletons closely associated with each other. They were not, looking out for each other and cuddling. They just died.
Or maybe they did.
But then I'm all for interpretations.
No, like that's a possibility, but pushing for it is maybe not.
Yeah, I think the possibility for and maybe mentioning it and interpreting it in the literature is fine. That's sound.
Yeah.
But I have my reservations just how quickly and that just kind of took off, and that everyone just accepted that, which is fine. But I am surprised there aren't as many people just flat out saying no way Dendromaya is providing parental care. I'm surprised that there's not many people mentioning that.
It's not a dinosaur, so of course not.
Yeah.
Okay. I think it's nearly done.
One of the co-authors is watching. He's enthused.
Welcome.
Welcome indeed. I hope it is to your all liking.
He says the wriggling in the moss is fair. And he says, plus the terror of underwater backgrounds. What does he mean? Oh, I think he means the general, I can be on land, now I can go in water. I just told him he could hop on if he wants, but he says no. But I think he's going to watch this later, so he will. I will either be embarrassing him or I will be embarrassed later when he talks to me.
Yes, embarrass the people. That's what we do here.
Yeah, it looks really good. Great colors too. I really like your reconstructions where you go with I don't want to say muted colors. You go with realistic, natural colors, but you don't pull completely from. I'm just gonna make it green and brown. you do a really good job with the colorations.
Thank you.
It's really good.
Yeah.
Like I find it fun for like I do my own like sketches and stuff on my own time just to have fun. I find it fun to do completely just new designs or things that we don't see in extant animals, patterns and designs.
Yeah.
Or completely just take an extant animal and just throw that patterning onto an extant.
Yeah, that can be fun. Yeah.
But like something like really weird and wacky.
Slight striations here on the tail with the radials.
Oh, that's great. Oh, Calligenethlon. So who's next in the stream?
This was the last one.
Oh.
Yeah, best for last.
Heteg, Sauropod that got a redescription.
Curse of Titan.
Yeah, Petrus Titan.
Yeah, Eophyseter, a newly described early sperm whale relative, and a standoff between a early, or at least like an earlier North American porcupine and raccoon from Wyoming, Florida.
When you look like above stream materials is stream gallery, and you can see the latest images in there.
Stream gallery. Okay.
Yeah. Last one
Missed
was
opportunity to give the Hatzegopteryx a quadless head.
we have skull bones, Petite. I'm not just copy pasting that.
Not from overlapping material. You're saying.
We have skull bone.
I'm
pretty sure.
That isn't overlapping with the holotype. I'm just saying.
It depends what you all refer to it.
Yeah. Referrals with no overlapping material are lit.
Wait, do we have raccoons in the fossil record, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Whoa, wait. Oh, okay. Time to go down the rabbit hole.
Procyonids are
Quite a few.
very cool fossils.
There is a giant raccoon from. Oh, was it Miocene?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, giant procyon.
Yeah. And it's like the size of a black bear.
Yeah.
Oh my.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, this looks horrifying.
Did I make the hind limbs a little bit too long? I mean, we don't have them, but just based on relatives.
So you're seeing them at a slight angle because they are sprawling.
Yeah.
So I think that's fair.
Okay.
But also too, we don't have them. So
yeah.
I love interpretations. If somebody wants to make them bigger than how you're interpreting them there, that's fine. I think it's fun and safe to interpret things when you have material missing, within reason. But that looks good. Bolomir. Is this GIMP?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, I used GIMP in Inkspace because it's free.
Oh, I used Inkscape for a while too. Now I have Illustrator, and I thought that would be an upgrade. It is not.
Really?
It is not, for sure.
It's an Adobe product.
It's an Adobe product. Oh God, Adobe. May you rot in hell, if a company could.